Hey superstars, welcome to the Get Rich Without Being a Bitch podcast, and I am your host Vanessa Shaw for this journey. We're going to be challenging some stereotypes, shattering glass ceilings, really looking at what it takes to live richly and to design a business that's going to support the life that you really want to be living. I'm going to be sharing lots of tips, tools, and strategies along the way, and I can't wait for you to join me on this journey. Hey superstars, welcome back to another episode of Get Rich Without Being a Bitch, where we are continuing our series, especially for women-owned law firms. And money. Such a great topic, right? I was diving into the Clio Legal Trends Update report recently. There's so much good stuff in there, by the way, and a lot of you are probably Clio users, right? Very well known in the industry. If you haven't read it recently or need a refresher, I really encourage you to. It's just got so much good information. I love stats. I love to see, right, where things are, like where frankly our firm owners are stacking up against different benchmarks, right, in what they're doing, and especially in the work with the Business Growth Academy. One stat though that is still really surprising for me is how heavily dependent most firms still are on the billable hours. Oh yes, those billable hours, right? Versus flat fees, retainers, subscription models. I mean, there's several different models there that are used, and sometimes people are using different terminology. But I want to come back to these billable hours for now, because there is most definitely real limitation when your firm has been built off of that structure. And if you've been practicing for a long time, it might be time for a little upgrade and just kind of bring your firm up to date a little bit. I can tell you from personal stories, real experience as well with our clients, that when they shift from the billable hour into flat fees or retainers, their shoulders normally drop several inches, right? They're like there's like a whole load of relief. Like the firm just gets easier, and clients love it too. And I think that's probably one of the big missing links is you get concerned around how do you scope out your work, right? The big question is, well, what if? What if it goes over this? What if it's over scope? There are certain areas of the law that are difficult to put into, right, that flat fee model. I totally get it. And again, there's a solution for that too. We can still get some of those things through retainers. And also we can do blended models, right? Of some of those very repeatable things that you are doing with your clients, right? That you really do know that there is a process. If you sat down, you can see that there are things that, yes, they're tailored to your clients, but there's steps that you go through time and time again. Those are indicators that they really lend themselves more to a flat fee model, okay? And from a client perspective, and I want to come back to this because it's so important, and that's what the Clio report is sharing, the clients would prefer a flat fee model. They're actually scared off by the billable hours, right? They are worried that if they need some help or they're going to pick up the phone and ask a question, right, that they're going to get billed for 15 minutes of your time. So clients aren't showing up in the way that they could because of that whole billable thing. But when we start to look at the flat fee model, and really that flat fee, then you are packaging into there either a certain amount of calls with you, meetings with you that have to take place, right, as part of your process. So they're all bundled into there, and you can start to look generous, right, in the eyes of your client. You can start to say things like, of course, you can, if you have any questions on this, you can call in or you can send an email, right? It's all part of it. So all of a sudden, right, the client's shoulders go down as well. They're relieved to find out that they've got somebody in their corner. And I remember this from my own experience. I mean, I've had to deal with attorneys, not for myself and in some things recently, but as part of my mother's estate. And every single time I needed to ask a question, I was getting billed for it. And then if it wasn't clear, I was getting billed again, right? It was absolutely crazy. And it became incredibly frustrating. And honestly, from a client perspective, it really did start to feel like, yeah, all they care about is the money that they're going to collect. Again, that's my experience, right? I'm not saying that was, really where they were coming from, but from my perspective, it felt like it was the money grab the whole time, and that client care piece and that experience was missing because everything was billable. So huge opportunities, right? Really huge opportunities for you here. Not to mention as well that when you have got things, right, that are templated and you've put some systems in place and some efficiencies in place, you may have heard me say this before, but when you've put some of those smart things in place, you'll do the work quicker. It doesn't really make sense that you would charge less from an hourly perspective, right, for more experience and greater efficiency. But that's kind of the trap, right, that the billable hours get you into as well. The other thing with that as well is you just get limited by the amount of hours in the day or the week, right? It just becomes a pure math where all of a sudden the ceiling is on your revenue because you simply cannot and don't want to do more of those billable hours. So I want to really encourage you to start to think through what part, right, of your practice right now could start to shift into more of that flat fee. And again, there are some, of course, different models for this. I mean, it doesn't look the same for everybody. There's some work that goes into setting this up. This is really good practice, by the way. Looking at how long does it actually take you to serve your clients right now, you're going to have a lot of that data at your fingertips, especially if you've been accurately tracking. But you've got to track everything. How long does it really take you to serve your clients in terms of face-to-face meetings, work behind the scenes, emails, phone calls, all of it, right? And then you probably need to add in a buffer, right, for some of those unforeseens. So you can start to scope out, well, it is this amount of hours that we typically expect to take. Now, if you start to do flat fees across the board, you certainly want to be continuing to track your time to make sure that things are adding up correctly. We have our clients do that and they possibly haven't tracked for a while. And then they realize, yes, there has been scope creep. They haven't gone back to the clients, right, to say, actually, this was beyond our original engagement, or they haven't tracked for a while and they start to realize, as I say, time is creeping away. And in fact, had they charged previously at their billable hours, they would have been generating more, right? Now they've got it back to front. So there are some things that you most definitely have to do behind the scenes. And the very, very first step is deciding, do you want to shift to a different model? Right? There's, again, the Clio report shows there's some massive opportunity to do that. It's going to make, the admin side and the invoicing and the billing and the collections side of your firm a lot easier as well. It starts to give you some really great predictable revenue. We see that with our clients, especially when they've got, their retainers. And they know full well that they're replenishing them. By the way, we have some of our clients replenishing their retainers every 2 weeks, not every month. It starts to give a lot of predictability to cash flow. And when you haven't got the stress there of the finances, now you can really focus on your client work, right? Which is probably the stuff that you want to be doing, right? And leading your team. Anyway, as always, I really encourage you, if you want to grow that firm that is profitable, sustainable, and enjoyable, you've got to look at all of these pieces around money in your firm and start to unpack some of them and start to just question, how could you do them differently? Please like, comment, share below. Can't wait to catch you on the next episode.